Hi, it's Alexander. Welcome to my channel from my sewing room. And today we're going to be revisiting something I have already done before in a video, which was sewing my first hoodie. I'll leave a link in the description up top here. For this project, we're going to be using one of my staple wardrobe items, for sewing anyway, pattern M7841 from McCall's. I thought I would go through step by step a little more in detail, maybe, since you seem to like one of my last videos where I went in detail step by step on making a shirt. For this sewing adventure, we're going to be using view D. Now, except I am not going to put the kangaroo pocket. It's just going to be a flat front sweatshirt, hoodie, jumper, bunny hug. Now again, you might have seen me already make this in my very first video. I'll leave the link up there for you to click on if you really like. For this video, I'll be going step by step in my terms, not necessarily following the pattern instructions. I found a few extra ways to cut some time and make things a little easier. For this project, I'll be using my regular everyday sewing machine with a triple stitch. Now, some of you have asked what a triple stitch is, and I'll show you a picture right here of what my machine's triple stitch looks like. I'll also be using my serger. Now, if you don't have a serger, you can always use an overlocking stitch on your machine and then cut it out, or zigzag stitching. Or you don't have to use a serger whatsoever. You can just use your machine's triple stitch and then cut the seam back. That being said, let's get back to sewing. As usual, I'm cutting on my dining room table. You may have noticed that this French terry has quite the pattern on it. I made sure when I was placing my pattern on the fabric that I had a line down the center of the bodice and the rear of the bodice as well, so that I could line up the Jolly Roger type pattern straight down the front. If you are using a plain fabric, you do not have to worry about this. If you are using a pattern fabric, taking the time to line things up is appropriate and will give you a more professional finished garment. A note about cutting: always put the notches in. As you can see, I am taking the time to place the notches in the fabric, cutting them out on every single piece. Again, this is very important, especially if you are starting out as a beginning sewer. This makes it easy for you to line everything up. You may have noticed that my pattern pieces are white. That is because I traced the original pattern onto some tracing paper. This gives my original pattern a little extra life, so I can use it over and over. Plus, with the tracing paper, I can make adjustments where needed. I am sewing with the pattern's recommended 5/8 inch seam allowance, as you can see with my gate. For this section, what we are going to do first is sew the side seams and the shoulder seams with our triple stitch. Now we're going to continue doing the exact same sewing with the sleeves. This is the underarm sleeve seam. You're going to do this for both sides. By doing this, you are creating a sleeve tube. Now I'm going to be honest. In this section here where asked for the hood, I forgot to film where I made the buttonholes for the tie around the hood to go. Again, I forgot. Sorry. Alternatively, if you do not have a button holder on your machine, you could use small grommets and then run a cord through that. So, after putting in the buttonholes for the tie, here I am just sewing again 5/8 inch seam allowance all around the outside of the hood. Now the hood comes in two pieces, the inner lining and the outer. You're going to want to do this with both sections. Now follow the pattern. Only the outer section gets the buttonholes. Starting off by lining up my triple stitch seam with the guide on my foot, shown here. It is now time to serge all the seams we just did. This includes the shoulder seams, the side seams, and both parts of the hood. We are now going to assemble the hood. Pin right sides together, making sure the center seam of the hood matches in the center, obviously, as it goes by right there. Doing the seam makes almost a hood pita pocket, which you're going to turn inside out. I then took this pita pocket over to the serger and serged the seam. Now we're going to turn it inside out, or right side out actually, right side out, and then top stitch along the front. Once you are doing your top stitching, you will need to make another top stitch about 3/4 of an inch away from the side. This creates the pocket for the cord. Here, we're setting in the sleeves. Make sure you use lots of pins, I always do, and follow the notches. I cannot stress this enough. Follow the notches and use lots of pins. Now, it's time to assemble the hood to the body. Very much like setting in sleeves, you're going to use lots of pins, follow the notches, and make sure the fronts line up directly in the front of your garment. I always find the bottom hemband sort of fussy. Again, notches here help because you will be pulling and stretching slightly to make sure that hemband fits. We will be doing the cuffs in the same fashion. Again, 5/8 inch seam all the way around. Triple stitch. Now, it's time to serge all those seams we just did, starting with the cuffs. Moving on to the bottom hemband. Again, this one needs a little practice. Don't pull too taut, but just get things lined up nicely. Around the shoulder seams where the arm and the bodice meet, we'll need to do that next. And lastly, we will need to do the neckline. We will now need a top stitch around the cuffs. I do this at about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. This holds the serging in place. We will also need to do this around the hemband. Do not pull and stretch the fabric here. Just keep it slightly taut. We do not want to deform the fabric. Again, using an 1/8 inch top stitch. Lastly, we just need to go around the neck. Again, making sure to catch all of that serging we just did inside that top stitching keeps everything nice and flat. Now that we've done all the top stitching and everything has come together, do you know what time it is? Fashion show! We're done. So, if you enjoyed this sew along, please subscribe here below, or let me know in the comments below. If you like these videos, don't forget to hit that bell icon so you get notified when my new videos come out. Also, hit the thumbs up button, because I know you like it. Thanks everyone. See you next time. Bye.